Oh my goodness. Our theme for the month, the one and only, the one and only. Our principles this morning that we'll be working with, written by Ernest Holmes, someone more than 100 years ago, I think, at this time, titled What We Believe. You can find a copy of this if you are on our mailing list or you do a search for What We Believe by Ernest Holmes. But this morning, I want us to get centered in spiritual principle number one. We believe in God, the living spirit, almighty one, indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. We believe this one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. We believe the manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. Spiritual principle number two, we believe in the individualization of the spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of the one spirit. Spiritual principle number five, we believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all, the one and only. We believe that God, the living spirit, is individualized as you, and that God, the living spirit, is individualized as me. We believe that there is no great one or no one great. We believe that we all are the great I am. We all are the great I am. Now, a lot of people don't believe this because it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that God and I are one. It's hard to believe, as Ernest Holmes says, that which you have so ardently and eagerly sought has never been separated from you, not for one moment. I mean, how they say it now? Pause. Take that in. Not for one moment has the thing that you have eagerly, ardently sought after, that it has never been separated from you. Not ever. Not ever. But it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. Ernest Holmes says that it is our recognition of this that makes life glorious. When we realize who we are, when we realize our relationship with the divine power and presence, by whatever name you so choose it, our recognition of it is what makes life so glorious. It's what makes our life so glorious. It's the thing that turns darkness into light. It's the thing that changes confusion into clarity. It's the thing about us that makes us whole and holy. But it's hard to believe because many of us were taught that God is outside of us. And it's reinforced by folks who want to have power over us. It's hard to believe when you find yourself in a dark moment. It's hard to believe when the pain is so deep. It's hard to believe when the hurt is so real. It's hard to believe when the money is low. It's hard to believe when the house is cold. It's hard to believe when they said what they said. It's hard to believe when he did what he did. It's hard to believe that the thing that I'm searching for and seeking is not someplace far off, but is right where I am. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, and it was hard to believe many, many hundred years ago, when all folks had was a horse and a carriage to travel from point A to point B, that at some point in time, that cars would make horses and carriages obsolete. It was hard to believe. I was looking at a video on social media, and there was this video of this woman who was with her grandchild. And so she had her debit card out or something out, and she was talking to her grandson, and she said, "You mean to tell me that my bank account and my information on my card, that all I have to do is push a button, and then my money in my bank account is going to be in your bank account. It's going to be your money, and ain't nobody going to mess with my money." She was like, "Boy, get out of here." If you don't have a seat somewhere, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. And because it's so hard to believe this, we become satisfied with keeping what's close out there. We're satisfied. And instead of affirming on a daily basis that God and I are one, our practice becomes daily then to eliminate the risk in our lives so that things remain the same and so that things don't change and so that we remain the same. So our practice becomes a practice of eliminating things, not creating things. We're here to create, not to eliminate the risk as they show up in our lives. And as long as we keep God out there, we'll continue to be satisfied with eliminating the things, eliminating the people, eliminating the situation, managing, manipulating, managing and manipulating the situations and the people. Because it's hard to believe. But this morning, let me take this opportunity to clarify that those of us who are here, all of y'all and me, we're not merely here to be satisfied. We're not here merely to be satisfied. And as long as our experience is with a God out there, we make it all right simply to be satisfied. Listen. If what you're reading, if what you're practicing, if what you're believing in, if it ain't changing you, if it ain't changing your situation, if it's not changing your circumstance, don't be satisfied with it. Don't be satisfied with it. Don't be satisfied until from your barrenness, don't be satisfied with it until, like the prodigal son, when you find yourself in the lowest place, that you return to God. Don't be so satisfied until the life that you are desiring is the life that you're living. I ain't satisfied. I ain't satisfied. So it is in a place like this and in our space like this is that we gather together so that we can fortify our minds, so that we don't slip into being satisfied. You know what I mean, Sandy? So we don't fall back into that, so that we can begin to believe what's hard to believe. When we are so easily satisfied. All we need is a little bit of wine, a little bit of crackers, and we satisfied. All we need is a couch that we can kick back on and look at some football or at the newest little show. We satisfied. All we need is somebody rub our little back. We satisfied. No. Don't be satisfied with it. Ernest Holmes, in his book, Living the Science of Mind, in it he talks about God, our personal self, and God, our impersonal self. And this reading is coming from his selected reading, God, Your Impersonal Self. I'm reading from pages 132 and 133. And he says, I am come that you might have a more abundant life. To those who know their true nature, believing themselves separated from good, I am come. To those weary with disappointment and struggle, who have sought life outside themselves, I point the way to certain salvation. Let me back up a moment and offer it to you as I experienced this reading. It was me reading to me. So this is you reading to you. I am in the midst of you, is mighty to heal, to comfort and prosper. I have come to arouse you from your long dread, your long dream of separation, from your night of despair. The dawn has come. The sun of truth rises over the horizon of ignorance. The light dissipates the darkness. The morning dew is upon the petals. They glisten in the sun. I am the Son of truth, dwelling within the sanctuary of your heart. Awake, become aware of my presence, for I am life. I am not something apart from your being. I am your being. Closer than your breathing, nearer than your hands and feet, I am. You have thought you denied my existence by affirming lack, fear, and failure, but in reality, you have merely affirmed my power to be to you that which you believed. I have come to awaken you from the sense of limitation, to proclaim to you the eternal days of my abundance. I have come to acquaint your mind with truth, to convert your soul by reason, inspiration, and illumination to the realization that I am is all there is, and besides which there is none other. Within you is the secret place of the Most High, the tabernacle of the Almighty, the indwelling God, the ever-present One. I am that being. I am that all being. I am your being, and you are my being. If you can put aside your fear, which is but an expression of your sense of isolation, if you can put aside all negation and turn to me alone, then you shall be made free. Be still. Know that I am your true self. Be still and know that I am the life principle. Be still and know that I am the truth, dispelling all error. I am power, neutralizing all weakness. I am abundance, swallowing up all lack. I am your real self. Nothing that you have ever said or done, no law that you've ever set in motion is as great as I am. For I transcend all uses of law. I, the creator, recreate. I, the molder, remold. I, the maker, remake. You may trust what I shall do, for I am God, the living spirit in the midst of you. Not some mighty, but almighty. There is no law opposed to my will. There is no opposite to my nature. There is no darkness which my light does not dissipate. There is no knowledge which I do not possess. For I am wisdom, the source of all knowledge. I am light, the source of all illumination. I am power, the source of all strength. The great I am within you. The great I am within you. The living spirit almighty, not some mighty, but almighty in the midst of you. In the midst of you. I highly recommend, if you have the book, go to that chapter and spend some time with it. Well, we ought to be this morning concerned about what comes first. And I'm not talking about the chicken or the egg. But we ought to be concerned about what comes first. See, you can't be satisfied with your life if you ain't sanctified your life. It ain't gonna never be enough. they ain't gonna never be enough until God becomes to you all that there is. You can't be satisfied in your life if you ain't sanctified your life. I know it's a little tricky kind of word for you, but don't worry about it. We're going to break it down a little bit. How do you sanctify your life? Well, you begin to see yourself as you really and truly are. How do you sanctify yourself? You begin to acknowledge the sacredness and holiness about you wherever you are and begin to experience life from a sacred and holy space. How do you begin to sanctify your life? You begin to see the God in you in everybody that you see. That's how you sanctify your life. And until you sanctify your life, you will never be satisfied with your life. You've got to recognize God at the very center of your life and unify with it in such a way that there is none other. You see, we have a practice here, we call it treatment. We call it affirmative prayer. There's 5 steps in treatment. There is recognition, there's unification, there's realization, thanksgiving, and release. Well, what's happening in steps 1 and 2? In steps 1 and 2, we surrender our desire for anything so that we can know the one thing, so that we can know the one thing is almighty in me. Right? We say God is all that there is. Step 1. And I and God are one. I'm so unified with it in every way that its ideas is my high and holy ideas now and forevermore. How do we sanctify our life? We move into steps 1 and steps 2. We recognize God in all of its power, its presence, its energy, its essence is right where I am. We begin to know that we have never been separate and apart from it. Never been separate and apart from it. Never been separate and apart from it. Not even then. Never. I remember early on when I was introduced to New Thought. When I was just starting out, when the teachings were starting to seep into my bones, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, Betty? Yeah, it was like, oh, okay, I got a little something about myself, right? Somebody read something or somebody said something this morning, you know, walk like you know, or something like that, one of the songs. So I started walking around like I knew something about myself. And it was shortly after that I was back in Tennessee. It was Thanksgiving. And I was with my family for Thanksgiving. And after being there for a day, about a day and a half, the things started happening. You know what I mean? I could just feel it coming on. You know what I mean? You could feel that moment coming. You know the moment I'm talking about when you're like, oh boy, here we go. Oh God, here we go, that moment. And so instead of engaging though, allowing myself to get to a point where I was thinking, God, why did I do this? Why did I make this trip? Why did I come here to be with these people? And before I got to that moment, because the teaching had started to seep into my bones, because I had started to affirm in the truth, because I started to realize that my life is holy and my experiences are sacred, because I had begun to sanctify myself and sanctify my life, to recognize the power and the presence of God and unify with it as my very life, instead of engaging, I got in my car and I drove to the lake. Now, this is not a running away. This is a returning to. A returning to love, a returning to the Father's house, the mother's house, a returning to my God self. I wasn't running away. There's a difference between running away and turning to. You should know that. I started to recognize the ever-present power of God within me, the Almighty within me. We're not here simply to be satisfied. We're here to sanctify our lives and to sanctify our experiences. In this book, Richer Living by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker, he says this. He says that the Lord God omnipotent created me as a free and full expression of itself. This reading is titled, I Determine My Own Demonstrations. I have the freedom of the mind which brought me forth to express its ideas. I choose and divine law produces. There is no power to hinder me and no law to refuse me. All of life is mine to use for good, and this I do. Backed by the omnipotence, I determine my own results. I have no one to blame for my mistakes, not even myself. I refuse to believe that the world acts upon me, for I know that I act upon the world. My thinking is my environment, and God is my heredity. I no longer, I face the facts of my own conclusions. I am determined to demonstrate what I want. In this reading, he says, today I have peace of mind. It matters not what others believe. It matters not what others do. I know him who created me, and I abide in its love. I refuse to let the material thinking of others influence me. I am not dependent upon the world. The world is dependent upon me. I am not dependent upon this world. My world is dependent upon me. I am not dependent upon what they do or what they don't do. The only thing that I'm dependent upon is me. This is how we sanctify our lives. I'm not dependent upon the world. My world is dependent upon me. I am to recognize and to unify with God and be moved into a place of freedom to begin to expect an experience of freedom, of love and joy and peace that I am moved to turn back to, not to run away from, to move into my God self. And you might, like the singer who sings, come on and help me, Kamara. It's like, it's already getting better. It's already getting easier. The God in me is moving on my behalf. God in me. Yes. You got to sanctify yourself so you can sing with us. It's already getting better. It's already getting easier. God in me is moving on my behalf. It's doing it for me. Yes. Let that be our declaration this Thanksgiving. It's already getting better. It's already getting better. Don't do what you used to do. Don't make it hard to believe. Believe it. God and I are one. Don't make it hard to believe. Believe it. Not some almighty, but almighty is in me. Is in me. Let us not be satisfied. Let us be willing to sanctify ourselves, to sanctify our lives, to sanctify our experiences. It's already getting better. It's already getting better. The moment we move into the recognition that God is all that there is and that I can never be separate and apart from God, as we begin to lose all sense of separation and stand holy and boldly and proudly in our oneness. In that moment, we declare it's already getting better. Practitioners, come on. Let's just move into a moment of prayer in this moment to further get us anchored in this. Let us just begin in this moment to turn within, to realize here and now that the ground upon which we stand is holy. That there has never been a time that we've been separate and apart from that which we seek. It is ever in us. Not in some way, but in every way. Not some mighty, but almighty. As we unify with it this morning, then coming to know it as our very lives. God in you and God in me. The individualized expression of spirit as you, so perfect, so unique, and so whole. And the individualized expression of spirit in me, so perfect, so unique, and so whole, not wanting or desiring anything, not needing anything to be added unto it because it is complete. And because it is complete, I know too that you are complete. Because it is whole, I know too that you are whole. Because it is perfect, I know too that you are perfect. It's already getting better. It's already getting easier. I affirm this to be true for you, and I affirm it to be true for me. Whatever the situation is, it's already getting better. You ain't even got to tell me about it. I just know it's already getting easier, that the God in you is moving on your behalf. And how do I know? Because it's doing it for me. So I just know for you as I know for myself then, any desire simply to be satisfied with life the way that it is, that is just simply diminished, released, and let go into the nothingness from whence it came. And for you and for me, I affirm a life of more than a simple satisfaction. I affirm a life for you so full and so full of love and light and joy that the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. I affirm for you a peace beyond understanding. I affirm for me a peace beyond even my understanding. It's already getting easier. It's already getting better. I know this to be the truth of all of our experiences today and forevermore. And I certainly know this to be true for you this weekend, this week, as we move out to be with those we love. I affirm and I know that the God in you, the God in the midst of you is all. It is sufficient. It is mighty. It's moving you. It's leading you. It's guiding you. It's loving you. It's joy in you. It is, and that's all that there is. So I'm grateful this morning to be able to pause, to be able to speak these words, and to know the truth in these words, to affirm it to be so as the very action and activity in my life, and I know it to be the only action and activity in your life. I'm so glad about it. I am just so full of gratitude about this idea, knowing it to be so true, that I'm moved in this moment to simply gather in the words that have already been spoken, the songs that have been sung, the hugs that have been given, the glances of the eyes, the acknowledging of the humanity in another, the calling forth of the divinity in each of us. I'm so grateful for it. The moment we get to fortify our minds and to sanctify our lives, I'm grateful for it. So moved to just simply surrendering my word into the law of mind that I know is always responding to my words, always bringing back to me, causing in my life and in my experiences the very thing that I desire. My experience of knowing God as me in me is me. Let it be done. Let it be done. Let us all come together in agreement then by saying, and so it is. And so as we journey on throughout our week, let me remind you that we're not here simply to live a life and to be satisfied. Let us be moved in a way that we are so sanctified, so one with God and so unified with it that the God within me is more than enough for whatever comes our way. And so it is.